Breaking the gray.
All right, Sarah, it's been, we are humming along here. We're in the middle of season 2. You've introduced me to a lot of your friends, and apparently you have more friends. I have one friend. His name is Paul, and that's it. But you apparently have hundreds and thousands of friends. So today, again, another surprise guest. I want to hear more, and I'd love for you to introduce. But first off, how are you? Sorry to do our greetings.
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm actually very good. I've been doing a lot of hacking this week, biohacking. So I think I've got to
what?
Well, I've been stacking my hacks. So I've been doing the red light therapy with the truffles from the guest we had a few weeks ago, with a special sleep protocol. And here in England, the sun has started to come out a bit. So I've been, I still do my getting up with sunrise, but it's lengthening my day a bit because now I'm up at 6 o'clock. So I feel better.
I was gonna say, and not just saying this because I love you, but I'm saying this because you look radiant today. You're glowing.
Oh, really? Yeah, right. Yeah. I feel good today.
You're glowing today. So that's great. I've been doing nothing. I actually, I'm on a 100-day workout routine, and today's day 2. So let's see if I can keep the continuation going. I failed miserably during COVID at keeping the exercise going. So may as well start as the COVID protocols are ending. I'm going to start now.
Good time as any. Now is the best time to start anything, isn't it?
Anything.
Right now.
Anything. That's the tagline for Rebel Scientist season 2.
Yep. Do it now.
Yes. Well, let's take your radiant glow and introduce another radiant human to our family here.
Yes, we have a very radiant human this week. We have my very good friend, Deanne. And it's great that we're speaking to Deanne, especially we can extend International Women's Day for another day. So here we have it for my homegirl, Deanne. But Deanne's a very special person, and I've learned a lot from her over the years that I've known her, and she's someone who walks the walk. So, somebody who actually takes these learning and implements them. So I think that's what we really want to explore with her today, because some of these things are not so easy. And I know that she's gone through some health issues, and I know that she's got herself out the other side with grace and huge amounts of style. So, let's bring Deanne on. Here she is.
Well, thank you both for having me here today. That was quite an introduction. Yes. I guess that's true. I have been through a lot, and I have come out the other end okay, which is a good thing, right?
Yes, Deanne, for sure.
Yeah. So happy to chat about, oh man, it's a big topic, and we only have a few minutes here. So fire away. What do you want to know?
Well, first off, take your time.
For a couple hours.
Yeah, Deanne. We haven't introduced what the topic is. I'm incredibly interested. I think I might know because Sarah's mentioned your name many times to me. But where are you right now in the world?
I am in Gilroy, California, and Sarah had mentioned about the sun is starting to come out. Well, today is supposed to be raining, but the sun just popped out a minute ago. And I was up, well, I should say before sunrise, but I didn't see a sunrise today. But I was in the sauna for, an hour this morning. And so I have a good routine here in California. And my days get longer and longer too, because I like to get out of the sauna in time for sunrise.
Yeah.
It's more challenging.
And I mean, I'm sure you've been asked this question many times. Is your garlic intake higher than normal because of Gilroy?
Yeah. It's not. I don't know that I've changed it any at all over the years I've been alive, let alone lived here. But I do notice at certain times of the year, man, does it smell like garlic?
I was just going to say, I think you're soaking it up in the atmosphere, regardless of what you're eating. I think everyone in Gilroy is permeated with garlic.
Yes.
Yes, Gilroy is the garlic capital of the world, but it's not that it grows the most. It is that Gilroy Foods processes the world's garlic. And now more is done in China. But at one point, it was literally like 90% of the world's garlic was processed here in Gilroy. And boy, do we smell it. And I have my windows closed, but you can smell it.
Well, the good news is that you'll never have eternal life due to a vampire, which is unfortunate for that. But do we really want to live forever? I mean, I don't know. It's probably a good topic to talk about in another podcast, but.
Yeah. And, smelling garlic all the time keeps you hungry.
It does. It really does. It for sure.
So that's one of the main topics for today, Deanne, that we really wanted to go into is diet, because we haven't really talked about that quite so much. And I know that you had some health issues that maybe you won't mind going into in a bit. And also, one of the ways that you addressed it was with a keto diet. So people might want to know what the keto diet is and how you did it, because I know that I was with you on a little bit of that journey and how difficult, it actually is to maintain that. But maybe you can go into a little bit of your story and how you got onto that track, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I don't mind at all. And Sarah, you were with me pretty much every step of the way. I have a nutrition background. I've got training in nutrition, been certified nutritionist for 20 years. And yet I was, working at a pace that I knew was unhealthy. And I kept thinking at some point, I've got to stop, but when you're in it and you've got the mortgage to pay and you got the kids that are growing up, it's really hard to just say, I'm just going to stop. I deferred to another day always. And then until that day came when I woke up and I found the lump, and it's like, this doesn't feel good. And, I'm in total shock. And for probably 3 weeks, I think it was 3 weeks before I told anybody. And because I kept checking, it's like, well, maybe it's just an anomaly. It'll just go away, No, it wasn't going away. And then I had noticed over the previous couple of months that I was so tired, so fatigued. And I thought, I'm eating right. And then I found that lump. I thought, oh, this is not good. So in my nutrition background, of course, I've heard so many times about the ketogenic diet and how it's fantastic for epileptic seizures and been used for literally like 100 years. And that also it's good for cancer. So I thought, well, I'm going to try it and dive in. But of course, you don't get cancer. I mean, cancer is a metabolic issue. And so something was going on inside my body that was allowing cancer to grow and flourish and multiply. And so that always involves a toxic liver. So I did a solid 1 week liver cleanse of just raw juicing and fasting. And it was not an easy thing to do, but 1 week on that, like wheatgrass juice, till I couldn't stand the smell of it anymore. And I went, after that, then I went on the ketogenic diet. I thought, well, I was already fairly clean, despite having cancer. So obviously not that clean. But I then went on the ketogenic diet. And, for me, by then I had a diagnosis, and it was triple negative breast cancer, which there is no known Western medical treatment for. They do radiation and chemo because they don't know what else to do. There's no hormone therapy, and for me with the nutrition background, and I see the damage from radiation and chemo, it's like, I'm not doing that. And it was, some people say it's a huge risk. And I have a lot of friends and family that were, tremendous pressure. It's like, we want you to live. We want you to do everything you can. And I thought, at what cost? I've already, had a huge cost of the lifestyle that I had chosen. It's like, do I want to do another negative, putting poison on top? So I didn't. And I went ketogenic. And because I had finally made that decision, I just dove in, and I want to say it was easy because I feel I didn't have a choice. It was such a dire diagnosis that I had. The oncologist that I went to had said it was the most aggressive case he had ever seen in his 30 years. Right. And he put the fear into me, right? Course, it's like, okay, am I going to do this or not? There is no try, right?
Yeah.
And so I went to a conference in Baltimore, which it was just convenient because my daughter was going to school there. So it's like, why not? Go to a conference on cancer, see my daughter. It's a great excuse. And I learned so much. I met Dr. Thomas Seyfried, Miriam Kalamian, Dr. Nasha Winters, who are all huge proponents of a ketogenic diet when it comes to cancer, and had long, good conversations with them. And, by then I had been doing keto for several months, and I was just so convinced as in the first 3 weeks of doing keto, my tumor shrunk noticeably. And I mean, just by my feeling it's like, wow, it's like, it really isn't as big as it used to be. Right. Anyway, so the ketogenic diet, there's been a lot of talk and press about this. And a lot of people say, well, it doesn't work for me. I gained weight. And I'm thinking, well, I mean, I don't want to be rude, but it's like, you're probably not doing it right, because it's not easy.
No, it's not easy.
It's not.
Maybe we can just explain what the ketogenic diet is.
Yeah.
Because it's not that complicated, but like you say, it's not easy because you really do have to be strict.
You do. And I found so many ways that I was getting kicked out of ketosis. So what keto is for cancer, I did a therapeutic, which is even more strict. So I had 80 to 85% of my calories came from fat, and very specific types of fat, not just any. And if I had any animal fat, it had to be 100% organic, grass-fed, no junk, because we know the toxins are stored in the animal's fat. So if you're eating fat that has toxins, then that's not really healthy. So, most of the calories from fat, minimal amount of protein. So I did a calculation based on my activity level and my weight, et cetera. And so I thought, okay, I need about 42 grams of protein a day, and then maybe 18 grams of carbs a day, net grams. So it's whatever the total carbohydrate minus the fiber. And so it was 18 grams of carbs a day, which is nothing.
That's nothing. No. It's like a quarter slice of bread.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so, bread on the table, which is, that's a good thing for me that I don't really eat bread anyway. But, and so I say it was easy for me because once I had made that decision, I just did my calculations. I had my charts everywhere, and I said, this is what I can eat. And I just did it. And I ate within a period of time, like between noon and 6 p.m. So I did an intermittent fasting every day of 18 hours. And that helps keep you in ketosis. And also, especially in the beginning, I did the old finger prick every day and sometimes twice a day to be sure that I was in ketosis. And it's a finger prick. You get a drop of blood, measure ketones, and measure glucose. And then there's a formula. You divide the glucose by 18, and there's a little formula to see if you're in ketosis or not. And for cancer, it's a different ratio than weight loss, for example. So you can have a little bit more carbohydrate if you're just trying to lose some weight. But, in my case, no, going all in. And there were so many times where I would measure, and it's like, how am I not in ketosis? I'm eating all the right foods. It's like, it's really easy to get kicked out until your body really makes that shift. And if I noticed that if I was not in ketosis all the time, then my energy changed, my brain fog came back. So I didn't actually need to do the finger prick to know. I could feel I started to get shaky again.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I think the most interesting thing is that people it's hard to get your head around eating that amount of fat and being healthy, because it's a huge amount of fat that you're eating. And it's similar to the Atkins diet, that kind of principle that you are putting your body in a different metabolic state by eating this amount of fat. And I know from doing it, from those few times that I saw you and you had those fat balls that you were eating, literally just balls of fat. It was coconut oil and things like that. But I had a couple of those, and that's intense, just to, kind of eat great big mouthfuls of.
It is.
Of basically like just
fat.
Yes.
Fat. Yeah. And you were the one who introduced me to that. You sent me a list of recipes. I'm like, yes, I can get a whole bunch of fat.
This is the way to do it. It's like, feeding the birds fat balls. This is the way to do it. But it's hardcore, isn't it? And this is what I think people can't understand for treating illness, why you would do this, because it goes against what we've been told about.
Yes.
This is a healthy diet,
Right.
low fat, have all of these sugar-free, fat-free foods.
Right. And look at what has happened in our healthcare. I mean, not just in our system in the US, but worldwide. Cardiovascular disease is going up. It's not going down. And, initially when I did finally get into ketosis and I stayed there, I lost 10 pounds within the first week. And
just from eating fat. Yeah.
Just from eating fat. And so again, it goes against the grain. It goes against what we've been told. But when you do it right and you're eating the right fat, man, I'll tell you, my brain fog went away. I had so much energy and I was eating a lot of fat, but I was only eating 2 meals a day. I didn't snack. I slept soundly through the night. I mean, everything got better, everything. And so today I'm not doing ketogenic diet today. Right now I'm on another 10-day kind of a cleanse kind of thing. But at the end of 10 days, starting next Monday, I'm back on it. Right. And it's a lifestyle.
And so a couple things forbidden in keto is I'm imagining sugar. So no sugar.
No refined sugar. I get sugars in other ways. And I made some good chocolate. You get, good organic fair trade cocoa. Yes. And you can blend in coconut oil, grass-fed butter, and a tablespoon of maple syrup with, as long as you're making in a big enough batch. You do the calculations to make sure your carbs are in the right proportion. Yeah. And man, is that the best chocolate I've ever had?
And I imagine, that's good. So good to know. There is a bit of dessert here and a little bit of getting a little bit of flavor in there. And now, if you are vegan or a veg, can you? Is it possible to be on ketosis? Your fat's coming from coconut oil, but no animal fats, I imagine.
No animal fats if you're going to be vegan. So you can do, almond butter. Now, cashew butter has a whole lot more carbohydrates, so you got to count it. But almond butter is a great choice. And when I was making the fat bombs, it was primarily almond butter, coconut oil, and then you can add something in, for a different flavor. And there's so many recipes now online for fat bombs. And again, it's just about doing the calculations and not cheating.
But
can we go back?
I was just going to say, it's interesting that you say that though, Russ, because a lot of this, again, is on these principles that people think that plant-based diet is healthier. But there is so much research now that advocates eating animal fats as part of this to promote health. And I know I interviewed Fat Burning Man. I don't know if you've heard of Abel James, Fat Burning Man, who a lot of these people are advocating a carnivore diet. So it's, again, this goes a bit against the grain. And I know Deanne was eating a lot of eggs, for example, a lot of potentially high cholesterol products. And yet, I think we can see Deanne now, like she looks fabulous. She is fabulous. She's totally on track with her health. And yet this is going against what we have been told about diets, I'm not saying a plant-based diet isn't healthy. Yes, of course, you can have a really healthy plant-based diet, but you can also have a very healthy carnivore diet. I think it's just about what you want to do with your body, where you're at, and maybe like looking at some of these more alternative. It's going against conventional teaching. Let's say
conventional teaching, exactly. Because if you look at the traditional diets and the Weston Price Foundation type of diets, fat is a huge part of it, right?
Animal fat, yes.
Yes. But again, it's about the sustainable type of fat, not from CAFOs, not from those confined animal feeding operations, right? Where you have a million cows lined up and they're injecting them,
Yeah.
No. Yes. That's not good ethically.
I'd like to go back. I know it's probably not something you terribly want to talk about, but you get the diagnosis, and I imagine that it's hard for you to not follow doctor protocol here, right? I mean, I will tell you, I'm a cancer survivor. I had cancer in 1994. I had Hodgkin's, I had lymphoma, or not, Hodgkin's lymphoma, and there was no way I wasn't going to listen to the doctors at that point, right? And my parents, everybody. I mean, like you said, the pressure of just do the protocol. It destroyed me. I mean, I went through 12 weeks of chemo, 10 weeks of chemo, 12 weeks of radiation. And the doctors, the demoralizing doctor, after I finish everything, says to me, I think we're just going to take your bone marrow and your stem cells and freeze them because you're going to get it again. Because I was a stage 4B. And this is like, I had just finished, 22 weeks of therapy.
Yeah.
So I imagine that it's hard. I mean, it must have been hard to say no in that scenario. That must have been a really tough decision.
Yeah, it really was. There's no question. And I had a lot of soul searching to do.
Yeah.
And it's a process. And, I'm sorry that you went through that. And I can understand completely why you made the choice you did. And I mean, if this was almost 20 years ago and you're already so young, right? You have your whole life ahead of you. And there are.
Yeah, I was young and naive. I'm like, of course I'm going to do that. Why not? I'll jump off a building next.
Right. And if I was in my 20s, I would probably not have thought anything of it. Right. And, not necessarily been happy about it, but it's like, this is what you do. Right. And part of the journey though with cancer for me anyway is, why did I get it to begin with? Mm-hmm. And what was happening in my life? And that's a different journey. I mean, the keto and hyperbaric oxygen and other things that I did externally and the red light, the sauna, infrared, and all of that external stuff is easy to look at when it comes to the physical body and treating the physical body. But then we have this emotional and spiritual side. And, not only can you not discount that, but maybe that's the very most important thing. Mm-hmm. So I was doing a lot of journaling. It's like, why did I get cancer to begin with? And, previously, just 2 years before that, I lost my husband to suicide as well. And he was an alcoholic. And, he was a great man. He was the love of my life. And I just expected to have, an entire life with him. And I just watched this decline and I felt so powerless over it. And really what I have learned since then about that powerlessness is that I was starting to take a victim stance. And this happens, mm-hmm. It's really common in spouses of alcoholics or any type of abusive type of relationship, is that we start to feel victim that we can't do anything, not only with our spouse, but anything in life. And so boundaries start coming down. I start saying yes to more things, start trying to be more of a people pleaser. And the job that I had at that time wasn't helping. Mm-hmm. And so it was really a big soul searching. It's like, wow, what happened to the person when I was in my 20s who, I got my pilot's license at 19 years old. I had babies at home. I went sailing across the Pacific Ocean. What happened to that person, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And, I got lost along the way. And that is a huge part, I believe, in my cancer. That is not the case with everybody else. And especially like lymphoma is a totally different type. I mean, cancer is cancer in how it is a metabolic issue and how it ferments glucose. That's one thing, but how it forms, if you're working with toxic chemicals all the time,
yeah,
it kind of increases your risk,
Yeah. You bring up such an important thing. And, I remember going through an entire attitude shift and revelation during it. And I've had, several moments of this in my life. And I think for you to understand that maybe there was a bit of your spiritual nature that invited the negativity into your body, right? And invited this into your soul. And like, that's scary. It's scary to think that can actually happen, right? That you could actually do it. I mean, maybe even your job choice, you've mentioned your job a couple of times at that time. Mm-hmm. All of those things are all related, right? You're in that really, terrible headspace. I'm so sorry to hear all that. And so, but then all of a sudden you decide, okay, I'm going to own myself here. I'm going to be my authentic self and take control. And it worked.
Right. Mm-hmm. And then honestly, it is the key, I think. And it's so unfortunate that we're in a situation today where, there's so much pressure in society and our culture to be something, to have this career, to, excuse me, to go through an expensive education, come out the other end with this fantastic degree and get this high paying job and start on this path, and it's all about doing and looking good while doing it. And it has nothing to do with, how we feel inside and what calls to us and our own authenticity and our own likes and dislikes and our gifts, so I really feel like we're on the wrong path. I really do.
We are. We need to get rid of our social media immediately, because we don't cares about the outside accolades here, right? I mean, reality is that the outside accolades don't define you, right? You define yourself in this journey. It is fascinating. I think that the diet aspect of this, I think our listeners, especially me, because I like to play the part of our listeners here of being naive and going into this, but I'm curious about two things. One, how you get started. Like how do you get started as a lay person here in keto? What's the right tactic to get started?
Well, for me, again, I kind of dove right in because of my diagnosis. But if somebody's just wanting to kind of just to try it kind of thing, some people find it much easier to slowly integrate into their life. So each day, consider, how much. Well, first of all, you look at your pantry and you get rid of anything that's high in carbohydrates. You got to look at the proportions, rid of anything that has any added sugar, and you got to look at everything. I mean, most pasta sauce has added sugar. So look at the carbohydrate count. And again, for some people, it's easier to ease into it. And so maybe cutting down to 50 grams of carbs a day, but not counting your vegetables. Just counting all other carbohydrates, but you say have as many vegetables as you want. And if it's fermented, like sauerkraut, that's the fermenting process eats up all the sugars. So it's just fiber. So that's like a free food. And, have at it. You don't have
pickles.
Right.
Pickles.
Well, yeah, I'm not sure about the pickles.
I tried. Okay, fine. All right, I'll take it off the list.
Man, I love sweet gherkins, right? But you got to look at the carb content of that. Yeah. So again, it depends on the individual if you feel more comfortable easing in or diving in. But easing in, just really cut out the bad carbs, eliminate the grains if you can. Start substituting, use a huge piece of romaine lettuce to wrap up instead of having a regular sandwich, do a wrap. And count the carbs though, for sure, and increase the fat and have a spoonful of almond butter. And, a spoonful of coconut oil is a little hard to stomach sometimes. Yeah, but start mixing it in, right?
Have you, how long ago did all of this happen? When were you diagnosed, and how long ago was it?
Yeah, I was diagnosed it was May of 2017. I found it, diagnosed. I think the diagnosis date was June 30th of 2017.
And have you gone back to get medically checked?
Yes and no. Again, I feel like I'm a little arrogant and I'm playing with fire, but I have to just keep tuning into my body.
Yeah.
So it's not, totally without care. I did go through a couple of oncologists, and I found another one, an integrative oncologist, that I said, hey, I'm going to come to you for a couple different tests, but basically I'm going to do my own thing and just come to you for the testing. And he was fine with that. And that was great. So what I do is I monitor with nagalase, which is an enzyme that it's kind of basically a byproduct of what happens if you are fighting some sort of either heavy duty virus like HIV, probably coronavirus, and HIV, HPV, there's several, not the flu or a cold, not something really simple that your immune system can handle without blinking an eye, but something more comprehensive. And so nagalase goes up in those cases, including cancer. And so I would monitor my nagalase results just, every month. And just as my numbers were coming down and I, maintaining keto and maintaining the other protocols that I was doing, then I felt like, okay, I'm on it, right? I'm doing okay. And then after I went like 6 months, I think one time without testing. And when I did test again, my numbers were higher. It's like, okay, go back on keto because I relaxed. And, because again, I said early on, it was easy for me because I dove in because I didn't really have a choice. There is no try, just dive in. But then when I finally thought I can relax a little bit, it's like, oh, it feels so good to relax and have, a big salad and have radishes and and have a sweet potato. That was decadence, So I was out of ketosis, but still eating. I mean, I still didn't eat junk. I still didn't have sugar, but I noticed my numbers started climbing again. So I'd go back in. So short answer on your question is yes, I still, have gone to do some monitoring, but I have not done any imaging. Like, they say you have to have a mammogram every 6 months. Like, nope, haven't had one, and I won't.
Yeah. I mean, first off, congratulations, really, truly.
Yes.
It is an absolute miracle. I think that the idea that now you look at the rest of your life and you're so careful at monitoring. And this is something Sarah has said all along around biohacking, that it's the quantified self. And you're truly proving that your quantified self is keeping you, in that ketosis and in that path. Do you think that now for the rest of your very long life, you're going to be on ketosis and kind of, as close as you can be for the rest of your very long life?
Yeah, my very long life, which is good. I'm going to go in and out because I do enjoy my yams. Man, sweet potatoes are really a pretty yummy thing. And
I think you should start making T-shirts.
Yeah.
I think you should just say, I just think that, I mean, maybe if you write a book like I do, I know. And by the way, I was going to say, did your daughter go to Johns Hopkins because of Baltimore? So I can see now that.
No, my daughter goes to Hopkins and she's now in grad school with Hopkins. So, yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. That is quite an achievement in itself. It is amazing. I'm excited to give some tips to our listeners. Obviously, you're a professional nutritionist. So, our recommendations are always, seek a professional before you start diving into this. But as someone who's not a professional, what would you recommend to someone who has had a diagnosis of cancer? God, I mean, should we not be making recommendations because this is your choice that you made? But
right, and legally, ethically, of course, I can't, tell somebody what to do. But at the same time, I think the biggest thing, and to me, we were just talking about ethics. To me, the biggest issue is when a doctor says to somebody, if you don't do this, you're going to die. I think that should be malpractice. That is so unfair. Hope is the very strongest thing that there is. And if you destroy somebody's hope for survival, or you hold them hostage saying you won't get better unless you do this, I mean, to me, that's just terrible. And it is so wrong because our bodies, this physical vehicle that we have is unbelievable. It is so powerful. We can do so much we don't even understand. Mm-hmm. So yes, it is important to understand the numbers and know what to look for and how to do it. And so it is important to get professional guidance if you are, in something serious like cancer. It is very serious. There's no question. But know that we can do this. We are built to heal. We really are. Just give it the right tools. And so for somebody, there's no harm in launching in to try to get into ketosis right away. There's no harm in that at all. You might want to do a liver cleanse, but you don't have to worry about your cholesterol numbers. High cholesterol is not the cause of heart disease. In fact, another study came out, another doctor just came forward. I mean, so many people, and now the thing about the misinformation of fats, and cholesterol is not the problem. And, if somebody has high cholesterol, but low triglycerides, all their other numbers are good, that's a healthy person. Mm-hmm. And, my cholesterol is high. They'd want to put me on statins. Like, no, I'm healthy. And so it's about the other numbers. It's all a balance. So a liver cleanse is good to make sure that, you're processing. You don't want to have any congestion anywhere that's not helping. You got to release the toxins, right? Mm-hmm, so again, and these are things that are good to do with a professional. They really are. Yeah. I mean, you can do things on your own, but
I imagine that how is your exercise regimen? Do you feel the energy to get out and walk every day? Do you run? Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, I've never been a runner. I'm still not a runner. But yeah, I walk my dogs easily an hour every day. I have a morning routine that just to get a nitric oxide dump, just to get it flowing. And I do that several times a day. And just, I roll out the yoga mat, and well, that's kind of hard because I got dogs. And as soon as I get down on the floor, they're like, yay.
Yeah, exactly.
You're like, you're licking yoga post with goats.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I have a dog. I have a brand new lab who hangs out with me. And if I'm near the floor, I just become a licking post. It's just
exactly. So
get your probiotics.
Yes.
But I know Deanne has also written a book about something, because we didn't touch too much on that, the more kind of emotional aspect. But I know that's something that you have explored, Deanne, and you've put some of that in a book chapter. And I know you're working on your own website to bring out some of these other tips, because the diet piece is cool. And I think, that was a big part of your healing journey. As you've said,
that's the physical, right? The physical body. Cancer is a physical thing.
That's right. But you also did a lot of the emotional work and kind of going through those causes. And it's so cool you've documented that. So we'll definitely put that in the show notes.
Yeah. So I was privileged to be part of a book, 1 chapter out of 30 in Women Who Influence, which I do kind of go into detail in my story there. And it's one of those, the chicken soup for the soul kind of books where there's all these triumph over tragedy kind of stories, And I'm working on another book right now, which I'm hoping to finish within the next 60 days, at least the draft. And it's about stress, but why most of it is in our own perception that we create.
Very cool. I'm sure you will get done whatever you say you're going to do, Deanne. So brilliant. A true inspiration. Thank you.
Well, it's been wonderful talking to you both.
Yes.
And Deanne, if you're ever up this way in the northern, the northern part of Gilroy on the bay, reach out. We'll love to meet you in person, and maybe we'll take our dogs for a walk.
That would be great.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah,
thank
Sarah.
You,
thank you. Yeah.
And
I mean, both of you. Again, life-changing. I wish I had friends like you had friends, Sarah.
Well, you do now.
I do. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, Sarah just has that way about her.
She does. We love Sarah. Thanks, Deanne.
All right. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Well, Sarah, what a long 7 days this has been. I have to tell you, probably one of the most inspiring yet tragic guests we've had, but she's an amazing, inspiring woman.
Deanne, yes, what a fantastic lady. Yes, she's one of my greatest friends, and I had huge respect for her before, and now, after doing not doing the 7-day challenge and really hearing her story, now, I love her even more. What a fabulous person.
Yeah, she seems very, very, I feel like she is an extreme example of quantifying herself.
Yes, certainly. And doing everything properly. She measures everything out. She's not doing half measures. She's all in.
Yeah. And for absolutely good reasons, because her health and her life depended on it.
Yes. Yeah. And look how fantastic she looks right now. Yeah. She looks, I'll say a phrase that Paul, our producer, loves. She looks as fit as a butcher's pup, which means in English, she looks like,
Yeah.
Super fantastic, super healthy.
Paul being the the dog guy that he is. Yes, for sure.
Yes.
Paul met Sunny for the first time last week, and he went into almost comatose mode. He just stood there. And I said, take these treats, give these treats to Sunny. And then all of a sudden, Sunny was his best friend, and he was sleeping on Paul's feet. So,
which I'm sure he loved. Turned
Paul into a dog guy. But let's, digression canceled. Let's go back. So, in terms of keto, do you need to be that extreme to make keto work? Do you really need to measure, because it can be a dangerous diet as well.
Well, I don't know about dangerous, but certainly if you want to do the keto diet, you have to go all in and do it properly. So I have monumentally failed this week to do the challenge, which was I was going to do the keto diet for a week. And it just, I wasn't prepared. I've had a hectic week. I had a lot of stuff going on, and really, just one cracker can throw you out of keto. Just one serving of carbs can totally disrupt what you're doing. So really, you do need to be very prepared. And I'm talking here, I'm definitely, like, I've committed total carbicide today because I've basically just, eaten crackers and oatcakes and a whole bar of dark chocolate. I have to have full transparency here because it's hard. You have to really plan, and I'm not in a space where I don't have my own kitchen. So you really do have to plan. And funnily enough, when I was getting ready for this, because I knew we were going to have a catch up, and I was frantically thinking, right, what can I make as something keto that I can at least say I tried something? So I found a good friend of mine, Abel James, Fat Burning Man. I started to look at some of his recipes, and I thought, you know what? If this is hard for me, it's going to be hard for our listeners. Let's just get Abel James on, and he can tell us himself, how do you get prepared for this? What do you need? How, what are the best sources of fat that will enable you to live on that diet for an extended period of time?
Great. I've got a lot of fat to burn, so I'm excited to get Abel on here.
Well, that's cool. We'll get him on in a few weeks, and he'll tell us how to burn that fat. Won't that be great?
That would be great. Well, thank you again. I have failed at keto multiple times. I actually think being at home with quarantine and everything, that I think it is, for me, I don't think for everyone else. I'm not going to speak for everyone else because that's a lot of speaking. It's been harder for me to stick to a diet of being home full time. I think being on the road is a little easier because you can jump to, a place to get certain food, but I've had a harder time sticking to a diet, much harder time sticking to a diet during COVID than prior.
Yeah, and I think you have to take it all into account. What are you trying to achieve? What do you need to do for your day? What are your health goals? Maybe if this is not quite your priority, you need to look after yourself and keep your sanity in effect. Do whatever you need to do to, it's very difficult being in isolation. So we won't berate ourselves too much, but I think we need to do all the P's. Proper planning prevents poor performance. We have to get ourselves organized. We'll get Abel James on, we'll get the recipes, and we'll do it in a way, well, I certainly will have a good old try at it, so that you can succeed at that, because you've got to set realistic goals, and you've got to, really prepare yourself to do them. Well,
thank you, Sarah. Thank you for bringing on one of your, yet again, inspiring friends. And commitment is through the roof with your Rebel friends, and I can't wait to meet more.
Yes, that's super cool. And we'll check out Deanne's page, because she's now actually coaching people. So that's a good way that, if you really want to find out how she did it, visit her website. We'll put it in the blog.
Okay. And you don't have it handy, do you?
No.
Okay. I don't either, but we will have it up on the blog for everyone. Thank you.
Yes, we will. Okay, take care, Paul. Bye.
The Rebel Scientist Podcast is a Breaking the Gray production, created by Russ Eisenman and Paul Wood, hosted by Sarah Turner, music and sound editing by Logan Shea. For more information and other fantastic podcasts, visit breakingthegray.com. That's gray with an E, breakingthegray.com.
Breaking the gray.